Today I'm doing a project using the new Art Deco cartridge, and I'm going to do this lovely plane. Okay, so here we are at our gypsy, and the first thing I want to do is obviously find my Art Deco cartridge. So we just hit the little keypad down here, and that, my Art Deco, and it was the little plane here that we wanted. So I'm just going to use the main image at the moment. And then, actually there's a nice box down here, so we'll use that. I wanted the a box, I'll explain why. And then I also want some letters. So I'm going to use the letters from the Art Deco cartridge, and I'm going to use the CARDZ, this one here, so you need to hit your each key. So I want D, A, D, because it's for my dad. And then we'll go back here to the main page. Okay, so we need to just make that a bit bigger so we can see what the heck's going on. I want to have it selected, and I want to ungroup everything because I don't want everything all grouped together like that. I need to work with things individually. So I'm going to just press on this little button here, which means ungroup, and you'll now see it's gone back to black, but also that I can then move all these letters and elements individually. So I'm just going to put the DAD up there and also the plane, and I'm just going to work on my box. Now I don't want my box on this layer, I want that on a separate layer, and I'm going to use it as a template. So I'm going to click the plus button up here to get layer 2. Remember as well, I usually rename it, and I just do clear all, and then I just put temp, and that just reminds me what I'm doing on each layer. And the next thing that I want to do is actually be on my template. Oh, I'm on that. Is I need to go to my advanced key up here, and I need to press the copy button. Now since my box was highlighted, I know that that's what's going to copy across. I'm just going to click on there, and I'm going to get rid of the box here. So we're going to go back to my basic key. I'm going to click on the cross. Okay, so now going back to template. Okay, I want my card to be 8 by 8. So I just need to close my little eye on layer 1 because I don't want to see those other images through. So I'm going to adjust the size. I'm going to first of all click on this little linked button here. Now what this does is, if this is on, as you change, say, the height, it proportionately changes the width of your box. Because at the moment it's, well, let's just say, let's pick a shape. Let's go back to layer 1 for a minute just to explain this. If we had the dad, the D for dad, and we increase our height and we press that, then obviously we want the width to proportionately get bigger as well. We want it to stay the same kind of width proportionately to the height so that the D is correct. If we remove that and then we just decrease the height, you can see the width is staying the same width because it's not moving proportionately, but the height is moving. So what happens is you get a very funny shape. Doing the box, I don't want that shaped box. I want my box to actually be a square. And normally I'd have gone to Georgian Basic Shapes and picked up a square. But since there was a box on Art Deco, it was just as simple to pick that up. So if I then go back to this, I've clicked that little button there so that it's white. I can then click on my numbers, and then I click on my keypad, and I'm going to click it to 8 so that we know it's 8 inches. Because I've set it to inches. So now it's 8 inches tall. Still not proportion, it's still not linked, so it's going to do height and width separately. Then I'm going to do exactly the same for the width. And now we've got an 8 by 8 box. Now, so that just in case I want to change that size, I know I want it to be a square, but say I change my mind, I want it 6 by 6, rather than having to do both, it's always safer at this point to click that little button back to yellow so that you then can move that up and down without any worries. The other thing I should have done, which I didn't do, and it's always important to do when you're doing a template, because you're working on actual measurements, your card will actually be 8 inches by 8 inches, is I didn't pick the real dial size button, which is here. Now, if you look now, what's happened is that it's 8 inches high, but it's only 7.58 wide, because it's all to do with the way the Cricut works, and you need it works everything again. It's to do with it's doing it proportionately. So we needed to then go back into that, click that to white, go back into that one, and click it to 8, and then we've got a real dial size. So an actual shape that really would be 8 by 8, and I'm going to pop that in the middle, so it's roughly in the middle of my page. And then I'm going to go back to layer 1. I'm going to click my little eye so that I can see. Now you can see like a shadow of that box showing through. So because what happens is it kind of makes this top layer, if you let the little eye show, it makes the top layer see through. So it kind of sees what's behind. So now we've got our template box. We can't accidentally move it when we're fiddling around with our images on top. So then we can use this to size and position all our other elements for the card. Okay, so the other thing I've just realised I do need is another box actually, because I'm going to be using the dad as a template. If we just rotate it by 90 degrees, then that will save us fiddling around. And the way to do that is to go to your advanced tab, click on this button here, and then just use these little arrow keys until it goes to 90 degrees, which basically is just twisting it completely around. So it's the opposite direction. You know, it's gone from vertical to horizontal in this case. And that will go somewhere down here. So at the moment I want to actually, I think what I want to do is get rid of dad for a minute, because, and I'll tell you why, because I've messed around with it and it's now be harder to put in a straight line. So I'm going to get my box first of all, and I'm going to position that down here and make that a bit bigger. Okay, we'll worry about that in a minute. And then again with my plane, I just want to make that a bit bigger. I think that's going to be pretty cool, and I think I want to angle that. So again, I'm going to go to the same thing. I'm just going to use that rotate button. Wrong way, so I'm just going to go the other way, so it's just got a bit more angle on it, and I think that's just a little bit too much, so put it down to -10, and then I'm going to increase the size of my plane just a little. So let me tell you what size we've got that at. Height 3 inches. Okay, so that worked out quite well as it happened. So that's kind of roughly the position of my little plane. And then I need to sort out my little dad section. So I'm going to worry about the shape of the box in a moment. We're going to go take everything highlighted off and just click our little cursor off any other item, because if you have something clicked, that'll be in your Q bar. Let me just show you up the top here. So then everything else that follows it will automatically be in that dimension and also attached to that, so it will go off, and if you've got too many things it will go off the page and it's just a pain. So just make sure you're off of that. It automatically defaults to 1 inch. So then we're going to go back in, we're going to click on our text that we wanted, and we're going to click the dad again. Now what happens now is that everything is automatically in a straight line. So you haven't got to fiddle around, and it's already grouped. So it's already grouped together, which is so great. First of all though, we're going to increase the dad. And I want it to kind of go pretty much across the bottom of the card. Our highlighted box behind to really guide us as to the design. So this is at the moment just our design template. We haven't done any layering on the plane or anything like that. Here that we've got, it's actually not a bad height in the end, but I obviously want it 8 inches wide. So again, we're going to click off that little yellow toggle that linked the height and width, and I'm going to go across and I'm going to alter what you would think would be the width because it's from side to side. However, do not forget that we have rotated it. So actually, this is the width here, and this is the height. So we actually need to adjust the height. So that's now centralised, and then we're going to pick up our dad. And again, just saying about the silhouette, again, same thing. We really need this in the middle. And I think that looks okay, but I have to say I want to move the A over. So I'm going to highlight Dad, and I'm going to hit this little button here. That ungroups them. I'm going to very carefully move it across. Now use your little arrow buttons here, because then that keeps it at the same level, so they'll stay at the same, on the same line at the bottom. They'll be correctly lined up, and then we'll just use this arrow to move that over very slightly. Have a little look. I think I'm just, happy with that, I think. So then I'm going to click on my A. I'm going to click on my group button up here. And then I'm going to click on D and D. And then click on the group button again. And then that is then group. Then I want to group again, actually. This Dad, so kick that, and the box. I want to group those two together as well, so that they act as one, because this is going to be my template. What I need to do is convert this template, this design template, into actual mats that we're going to use to cut out. So now I think we've got all our elements ready and organised, so we just need to go over, load up our mat with our pieces of card, get cutting. Okay, so I've loaded my mat up. Now, even though this is just cutting for this project, I'm doing it on my Imagine, and I've loaded it up on the Imagine mat. So just to remind you, when you're using the Gypsy, but the regular part of the Gypsy, not the Imagine part, still cut on your Imagine. So your Gypsy will cut from either part of, either the regular part or the Imagine part of the Gypsy. The only difference is that obviously on the Imagine part of the Gypsy is the part where you can do the print and cut, whereas this regular section you can't. However, what this does mean is that if you have your Gypsy, you can do welding, you can position things where you want them to be, etc. Now the key with this is, whichever part of the Gypsy you're using, you look at where the arrow is on the screen, because it is different. On the Imagine part it's up here, and on here it's just to the side, and you put the paper on your mat with the orientation the same as you have on your actual Gypsy. So here my arrow is pointing like that, so then I've loaded up my mat with the arrow there, and I've put the red paper for my plane there, etc, etc. Okay, so while that's just finishing cutting the next layer out behind us, as you can hear, I'm just going to start putting my little plane together. So we've got the first layer is this little black layer here. So I'm just going to use my Zig two-way pen for that, because they're quite small pieces, so it's not difficult to just go over the top with the pen. And this is quite a nice juicy pen actually, glue pen, which is good. And then we'll just turn that over and pop it in place. And then I'll pick it up to make sure it's in place, because it's, oh, stop making all that noise behind me, that's good, I don't have to keep shouting at you. When you pick it up, you can tend to find that you can move it into position just a little bit better. Okay, so that's that bit done. And then it will be these little red bits. Now, be careful when you're cutting out. There's these two little red bits. They're at the top on the cut, and you might think they're waste. They're not. They're for the little, I was going to say feet, but I don't mean feet. The little wheel cover things on the plane, just down here. So if we put a little blob there and a little blob there, and then, whoops, pop that one on. And the next thing is this propeller. Now I cut this in this gorgeous sparkly silver paper. I thought that, I know it's a guy's card, but there's no reason it can't be a little bit of sparkle, and it would be metal, I think, on the plane. So I thought, what the heck. So now let's see, pop that down, and then lastly this. I think that one's correct, so we just flip it over. I'm just going to put a tiny bit of my glue gel on the ends here, because then it will stick in place. There we go. Let's just make sure that's all correct. And there, whoops, is our finish. So now, as you can see, we've got our dad, and what I've got is both letters and a silhouette. So I've kept my letters because I'll probably put those on the inside, but I'm not actually using these letters at the moment. And just to show you, they're absolutely gorgeous. That font is really lovely. So we're going to keep that to one side for the moment. But what we want is our silhouette. So that's what this piece is for here. So we're going to adhere this to that, but in a temporary way. I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my actual letters to position the inner pieces in the correct place so we get the same look, because otherwise I might not know exactly where they go. Okay, so I'm going to start with some white, just because I think that will give a base to the bit of glitter on there, to the paper, so that it, when I do my blue or whatever, it doesn't kind of stick straight into the paper, and I can't mess it around a bit and move it about and generally kind of make it look a bit more textured. Use this lovely pale blue, but I need to, I've got a bit of blue background, so I need to just be careful. I don't want it too heavy. Just might be completely crazy and it may be horribly wrong, but I want to put a bit of yellow on, not because I want yellow on there, but because my background colour is kind of a yellowy blue. It's slightly less blue than that, so I'm taking a lot of the yellow off my sponge, and then I'm just going to very lightly. So really I'm trying to change the colour of my blue rather than put yellow down. Go back with my white and soften that again. Okay, so I think that's kind of getting it the right kind of blue now, which is good. So now I need to use the blue again, but I want to start just making it a bit darker down these sides. I don't want it necessarily all flat and kind of not textured either. Okay, and I'm going to go back again to my white because I want to put a bit more white on that edge. Now we're going to see if we're going to go completely silly and just add a teeny bit of the dark just down this very edge. And what I'm doing is I'm not going on the actual image there, I'm actually going off the image, and that hopefully will just sort of shadow that edge just down here. Okay. Actually, I've just thought what I will do is peel this off while it's still wet, in case it cracks. Sometimes when paint dries, where it's overlapped the edges, you can get like cracking and it peels it off. It kind of cracks and peels off the bit you don't want peeled off. So I'm gonna peel this off now. Oh, doesn't that look cool? Oh, I'm so pleased with that. That's come out so well. Now you can see what I was saying about the shadowing part. I didn't really actually go on there. I went on this piece, as it were, when it was covered, but it just gives that bit of shadowing, and I just think that is such a really pretty effect. I'm really, really pleased with that. Really, really pleased with that. So we're going to let that dry and we'll put the rest of the card together. Okay, so now we're going to put the rest of the card together. Now, I printed out a piece of paper on the Imagine from the hopscotch cartridge of these clouds, and I did that at 7.8 on one of the stock images, just the square that's there, and I set it at 7.8, and that's to go just down on my 8x8 card, which is a lovely hunky-dory white card. Okay, so that already looks really cool. Now I've got my dad to go down the bottom here, which you can now see matches in with the colour, which is what I was trying to do. And I'm just thinking whether I want like to cut this down just a wee bit and put like a little red border around the dad just to bring the red into it. Okay, so I found a piece of red and I decided that I did like it better with that on there. Okay, so now we're just going to use my ATG on the back of this red piece, and then just pop that down in place, so right at the edges, so it's covering up side to side and right at the bottom, like so. And then we've just got our plane to do. So, well, we've got a little bit on the inside, so I'm just going to turn that over, and I'm going to get my glue gel and use that to put on my plane, because that will give it some height as well. I reckon like so. There we go. Letters, which were the spare letters, and I just painted over those again with the excess ink, and I'm just going to pop those on the inside as well. Okay, so that's that done on the inside. I think that just adds a little something, and there's the finished card on the outside. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed making this with me, and I'll see you all again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye!
Thank you.